Will everyone please join me in Gassho as I read the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. Through the benefit of unhindered light, we realize Shinjin, or faith, of vast majestic virtues, and the ice of our blind passions necessarily melts, immediately becoming water of enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs, namandabs, namandabs. Good morning, everyone. Well, and a happy new year to all of you. Happy New Year. Or as we say in Japanese, akemashite omedetou gozaimasu. Or sometimes, shinnen akemashite omedetou gozaimasu. It's a wonderful time that we're all here. And I'm so happy to welcome you all to the year of 2026. And, you know, it's so interesting. We are here now in this brand new calendar year. And in many ways, I ask ourselves, or we have to ask ourselves, do we feel all that different than we did yesterday? Do we feel a year older? I certainly don't. But, you know, whether I feel like it or not, I am. Well, technically, I won't be a year older until February 5th, but, right, it's still this year of 2026 and a whole year has passed. And, you know, the reason why I brought up the quotation that I did today is because it's a wonderful metaphor that talks about the transformation of our bonno, or our kleshas, or the imperfections, or our obstructions, right? Afflictions of unenlightenment, like selfishness, greed, anger, all of those negative emotions, right? And negative things that tether us to the world of samsara. But melting into the ice of enlightenment, melting into the water of enlightenment, melting to, the water becoming virtues, right? And the thing is we never really seem to know, when does a solid block of ice actually become water? When does that transformation actually happen? And it's hard to tell. Now, when there's a starting point and an end point, it's very apparent of the difference. But does a person, like, have you actually watched or sat and watched an ice cube melt? Maybe you have, but, you know, put an ice cube on a plate and watched it melt all the way to become water? Probably not. And you probably put the ice in a glass of water, or maybe you left the ice out and you went out about your day, did all these different things, and then you came back and it becomes water. You didn't see that transformation actually happen, right? That is the type of transformation that we see in our everyday lives, right? When we see people once a day or every day, it's hard to see a transformation. It's hard to see a person becoming one thing and you know, going from point A to point B. But I look very much different than I did when I was, you know, a college student. I look, you know, the New Year's Eve is a time I do a lot of reflection, and thankfully Facebook saves a lot of things. So I go back and I look back at all of my pictures in college, and I go, wow, I certainly looked a lot younger back in those days. Wow, I certainly looked, you know, like I had a lot more energy. I was having a lot more fun with life, right? I didn't accumulate so many responsibilities, you know. And now looking at myself today, I'm like, I still need to work on my diet. I still need to exercise more. I need to make sure that all of my finances are in order. I need to pay my taxes. I need to do all of these things, right? When did this change happen? When did I actually become an adult? Right? We don't really know these things because we are so caught up in the moment of, in a sense, living in this moment where we think that it lasts forever. And it's times like these, like New Year's, that remind us that time is constantly changing, whether we like to believe it or not. Thankfully, we've developed some very fun traditions, like watching the ball drop, looking at fireworks. I saw a replay of what happens at the Space Needle when it hits midnight in 2026 and all the lights and the fireworks and the displays go off. And it's fun to ring in the new year like that. And going into New Year's Day, I'm actually going to check across the street to see if the YMCA is as packed, right, with all the people with New Year's resolutions and everything. We, go through these patterns and we go through all of these motions, but without truly sometimes realizing that, another year has gone by and more change is coming and more things are going to happen. Nothing ever stays the same. One of the reasons why we as human beings sometimes become so frustrated or get so upset is because we are so comfortable and we are so comfortable and set in our routines and the way that things don't change, the way that things stay the same. We have all of our daily rituals or our weekly rituals. We have the things that we treat ourselves to. And when something upsets that, sometimes we get upset and we get a lot of anxiety. This is actually going to happen to me in a few months. And as you all know, Reverend Cindy and I are expecting our first child in early March. And to say that I am filled with a bit of anxiety is kind of an understatement, because I know, whether I like it or not, of course I'll love it, but my life is going to change forever. It's going to become totally different. And there's going to be this new normal that I have to adjust to, because that is my role as a father. And it was wonderful because one of the members yesterday, while we were having our toshikoshi soba, and as we were eating and having discussion, one of the members told me that once that child comes and your child becomes a daily part of your existence and everything, you won't remember what it was like before you had kids. You won't remember, you will always think of your existence as having kids once their child comes. And it's probably right. All of these stations in our life, bring us great joy, bring us great highs, sometimes bring us great hardships and lows as well. But this is how the Dharma moves for us. This is how we continue to walk in our daily lives. So as we begin this new year, I really, really myself have to think about how my life is going to change in an incredible, mysterious, and wonderful way. So many people are talking to me now about, what are you going to name the child? What are you going to name the baby? And truth be told, I don't know yet. Reverend Cindy and I have talked about a few names, but honestly, we're at the point where we kind of want to meet the child first before we actually give the child the name. The boy, I should say, it's a he. And in that regard, unravels this new mystery for us. And it's the same thing, right? When did I become a father? I'll ask that question probably to myself in another 10 years, when my kid is probably driving me crazy, or my kid achieves an incredible accomplishment. When I'll ask these questions again, when does that ice melt into water? But in this regard, in the Buddhist lessons of our life, one of the things that is constant and that is always here with me is the warmth and the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha. Regardless of how my life changes, what my status is, what my role is, this wisdom and compassion still continues to work for my benefit, for all of our benefit. And this extra help of wisdom that comes to me will always still come, regardless of where I am. And this is why I still place my hands together and say, Namo Amida Butsu. Many people have already offered me fatherly advice, saying that when this event occurs, right, you should be prepared for this. When this thing happens, you should be prepared for this. And in many ways, this is the working of the Dharma for my benefit and for when people also receive this advice, because it comes from experience of living it before. This will be my first time living this experience. And hopefully I'll be able to pass down some knowledge or things that I've learned to whoever the next generation is. This continuing passing of lived experience to new experiences is a gift from the Dharma, the working of the Dharma here and now. And as we continue and as we step into this new year, I wish all of you sincerely well, and that this year be better than the last one. Not to say that the last year was bad, right? But I always wish better for every year to come. And that everyone experiences as little suffering and as bumpy of a road as as little bumpy of a road as possible. And with this in mind, let us all remember that let's try to also take one day at a time as well. Let's not try to plan so far ahead that we lose sight of what's right in front of us. Let's not try to dwell so much on the past that we also lose the joy of the present. Let us continue to live this life with a deep sense of gratitude to Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion, knowing that no matter what day it is, this wisdom and compassion still comes to us, freely and without strings attached. Please join me in Gassho. And repeat the Nembutsu with me. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam mandavs, nam mandavs, nam. To end the service, I would like to, since it's the first day of the year of 2026, I would like to end the service with the reading of what's called a Gobunsho, or the letter of Renyo Shonin, our eighth Monshu. And, excuse me, sorry. I would first like to read the letter in English so you all understand what I'm saying, and then I will read it in its classical Japanese so you can listen to how it was classically read in ancient Japan. This letter is called Shonin Ichiryusho, or the letter on the teachings of Shinran Shonin. Shinran Shonin taught that the essence of the Jodo Shinshu is Shinjin, or faith. The reason is that by abandoning all other practices and completely entrusting ourselves in Amida Buddha, our spiritual rebirth is assured by the Tathagata through the inconceivable power of the primal vow. This is known as entering the ranks of the truly settled at the very moment of Shinjin. Thereafter, all utterances of Nembutsu, or Namo Amida Butsu, should be understood only as expressions of gratitude for Amida's assurance of our spiritual rebirth. With reverence, I remain. Shonin Nichiryu no Gokanke no Omomuke wa Shinjin no motte honto serare soro. Sono yue wa moro moro no zogyo wo nagesutette isshin ni mida ni kimyo sureba. 不可思議の眼力通して仏の方より往生は事情をせしめたもそのくらいを一年発起入少女始終とも釈しその上の正明念仏た如来我が往生を定めたまいしご恩法人の念仏と心べきなりあなかしこ アナカシコ。Please join me in 合唱。ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナンマンダ、ナンマンダ。